Welcome to the ArcticCrafts podcast. This is the first, maybe the only episode of this podcast. Time will show. I've been putting this off forever because I have a thick Norwegian accent and I don't know all this fancy editing stuff. But I'll learn as I go. And there I've already done a typical podcaster mistake, but maybe I should introduce myself. My name is Bente. I'm coming to you from Vesterålen in northern Norway, the most beautiful region of the country, if you ask me. And I'm not regretting moving here. I'm also a yarn dyer. My company is called ArcticCrafts. On Etsy, the shop is called ArcticCrafts by Bente, and the reason is ArcticCraft was already taken. But ArcticCrafts by Bente works. And my Facebook page is therefore always also called ArcticCrafts by Bente. My Instagram is ArcticCrafts, and on Ravelry I'm ArcticCrafts65. I'm still on my morning coffee, and I'm drinking this out of a cheeky mug, so if you don't like the F word, look away. But that's me, basically. I'm basically happy. I'm an introvert, by the way, and so is my husband, so we're not socializing much. We prefer each other's company, and so I get a lot of knitting done, which is nice. I've been knitting and crocheting for 40 years, give or take. And it's because I'm Norwegian, it's sort of a skill. Something I just knew how to do. So I've been on and off. I've been knitting loads for periods of time, and then I could stop knitting for a year, not knit anything. But I've always knitted from time to time, but I think about 3 years ago, I discovered podcasts. I remember the first podcast I ever watched was The Crafty Toads. And then I discovered The Grocery Girls, and then the ball kept rolling. I discovered hand-dyed yarns because of the podcasts, and I've never looked back. It became a lifestyle. And me dyeing yarn myself, I'm a graphic designer by trade, but I haven't been able to get any work in design since I moved here. So I needed a creative outlet. I'm rubbish at designing knitting patterns. There's too much math involved, to be honest with you. So I decided maybe I should try dyeing yarn for my own sake, just to use myself. And I have a good friend in Canada named Sue, also known as the Crafty Knitter 7 on Instagram, and she also has a podcast, The Tangled Skein. She loved the yarn I was producing when I started dyeing, and she told me, why not make yourself an Etsy shop? I'm probably not the only person that likes your yarn. So I set up an Etsy shop, and I think I started with 10 skeins in stock. And the nice thing was that after a month had passed, I actually sold some yarn. I had started selling yarn, not just to Sue, even though she has a sizable stash with ArcticCrafts yarn. She's not only to support me, she insists on it's not just to support me, it's because she loves my yarn. And these podcasts usually go FO, WIP, and acquisitions. And because I've never done this before, I of course have a sizable stash that I've never shown you. I have lots of WIPs. I have lots of WIPs. I separate them into two categories, hibernating and active. and I have castanitis from time to time. And sometimes I just knit a pair of socks as a palette cleanser if I'm getting tired of the bigger projects. But I have an insane amount of knitted shawls, and I decided to show them off in the podcast by putting them over the chair behind me, so I can tell you about the shawls when I show them. This is the Teroldego by Caitlin Hunter. It's knit in Ad Libris Baby Merino in the mustard colorway. This is Mad Scientist's Yarns Continuum Blood Moon, and the lighter colors at this end is Nora George Yarns in her BFL sock, and the colorway is Macaroon. And the thing I'm wearing, you can't tell on the top, but if I stand up, you'll probably stand up, easier said than done. Stand up, you probably recognize it as the Tenya, and that's also a Caitlin Hunter pattern. I love her patterns. Her sweaters have a tendency to be a bit cropped, and I sometimes knit them a bit longer, but I decided I can use cropped tops even though I'm a big girl, because I can use something flowy underneath, a dress or a big shirt or something. And if the banging is annoying you, the neighbor is putting up a wall between his driveway and ours. I'm not sure if he's trying to tell us something, but he has a tendency to have loud parties, so maybe it's a blessing. But that's the banging, and I can't just go out and say to him, could you please stop that? I'm trying to record a podcast. This is the third time today I'm recording this podcast, by the way. The first time I forgot to switch on the camera. The second time I got a phone call, and I decided to just start over again because I was barely finished with the introduction when the phone rang. So what I'm going to show you now are a few FOs. I'm going to a fair at the end of October, my first fair as a vendor, and I'm both scared and excited at the same time. It's Halloween weekend, by the way, so I'm trying to come up with a few Halloween colorways to bring, and I'll be making a Christmas colorway. Suddenly the sun decided to shine in through my windows, so that's why the lighting changed. I have to think of something when we're getting later, when we get to the winter period, because as you perhaps know, northern Norway is a bit dark in the winter. We have daylight. It's not nighttime all day and night. We're not in the northern part. We're not the most northern part of Norway, so we're actually just above the middle. So we have the sun disappears for about 3 or 4 weeks in the middle of winter, and we have midnight sun for about as long in the summer. But I'm planning to put some videos in this podcast of other things than knitting, and if my iPhone or this camera is good enough, I'll try to record some northern lights for you, because we have northern lights almost every night, but it's more powerful sometimes. And what I was getting to was lighting. I'll probably have to use artificial light when it gets to being dark almost all the time. I'll always be recording during a weekday, during daytime, because my husband works away from home, and so he's not home during the day, and I would feel really awkward doing this while he's in the same room. And because we have a small apartment, we have 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and the rest is a living room / kitchen. It's one big room. So if I wanted to record while he was home, I had to use one of the bedrooms, and the lighting is terrible in those rooms. I'm planning, if I get good enough at this recording, editing stuff, I might do Vlogmas, because I've enjoyed watching other people's Vlogmas, and they don't have to be as long, just a few minutes just to show what you're doing. So I might try that. But to the FOs. I have, because of the fair, most of this is going to be in my own yarn. That would change after the fair because I needed samples. But I knit all the samples, all the sweaters I knit as samples are in my size because I want to use them. This I have used already because I love it. It's my Novelli by Caitlin Hunter. This is knit in my yarn in the colorways Antique Gold, and at the bottom you have Dark Jewels, which is a dark gray with specks of color in it, and Peony looks white on camera, but it's a soft pink, really soft pink. And all these colors are available as pre-orders so if you want the sweater quantity in my shop. And I actually have kits for this sweater as a pre-order. I haven't got sweater quantities in my shop for two reasons. One reason is that I only dye 2 skeins at a time, and if I'm dyeing a sweater quantity I need a whole day to do that. And so I have pre-orders for all my tonals. Almost all my tonals can be ordered in sweater quantities. So normally I don't have sweater quantities in stock. That's the Novelli, and this is another sweater that I'm also bringing to the fair. And this is the Floral Party Top by Abby Knits. You may have seen the party top. It's a bit more cropped and it has a lace pattern or eyelet pattern in the sleeves. This is knit in one of my more popular colorways, Virginia Tobacco. It's kind of a darker version of Antique Gold. The sleeves and the ribbing at the bottom is knit in chestnut. It's a brown color and it's not in my shop. I might add it as a pre-order, but it's a one of a kind for this sweater, for the time being at least. And not long ago I had a collaboration with a Canadian designer called Melinda Meeser. Her design business is called Dry Flower Knits, and she designed a beautiful one skein shawl, and she was nice enough to give it a Norwegian name. It's called Rødsildre. That's a wild Norwegian flower and it's really beautiful. And as you can see, the shawl is perfect for me because I'm easily bored when I knit. I like things that change up a bit. And this is garter, so it's kind of mindless. And then you have this beautiful lace pattern. So I love knitting this. I think I knit it in a couple of days. And I didn't knit the entire days because I was dyeing yarn. But this, again, this is Virginia Tobacco, and we just had the knit along for this. And I sent the grand prize out yesterday. So the knit along is finished, but the pattern is on Ravelry. Rødsildre by Rye Flower Knits. I'll be linking everything down below so you can find it. And then I have another shawl, a 3 skein shawl that I just finished. Again, this is Rye Flower Knits. I love her shawls because she's like me, she's easily bored, so she designs shawls that change a lot. This is knit in 3 colors, and the top is Ovis yarns. Just let me check my notes. This is Ovis yarns in Poppy Sock, and that's Kiss the Rain. We bought that in Liverpool when we were in England over Easter. The yarn for the Tegna, by the way, I forgot to tell you. It's Lazy Kate, and the color is Vintage Rose, and we bought that yarn at Ovis Yarns store in Liverpool. That's how I remembered. This beautiful yarn it's a stitch up. It's her favorite sock in the colorway Careless Whisper. And the grey I dyed up myself to match the other two colors. This is a recurring problem for me. I want to knit a 3-skein shawl. I have quite a sizable stash, but I never find 3 skeins that I find match each other. So I just decided, instead of waiting for the right skein to show up, I just dyed a neutral grey that works with both the other colors. And I have 2 things normally that I knit. I knit socks and I knit shawls. And this, I'm showing you some FO socks. This is Whispers in the Walls by Kate Jones of the Bakery Bears. This is my yarn in a Corriedale nylon blend, and the colorway is Antique Copper. And as you can see, I have these gorgeous sock blockers from Burning Impressions with my logo on. I wanted to have customized sock blockers for the fair because I look much more professional that way or something. So that's the Whispers in the Walls. This is another Kate Jones pattern, also from the Swish and Flick collective. These are the Twinkle Dance socks. These are knit with Dusty Dimples in the Happy colorway, and it really is happy. It's more pastel-y than it looks on camera, but that probably is a lighting issue. This is Deep Stash, by the way. One of the first hand-dyed yarns I bought. And I have a pair of socks here. That's actually, they are damp because they're not, I just removed them from the bathroom floor. That's why I have these plasticky sock blockers on, because I use them for wet blocking. I normally never wet block my socks, but I've done it with this pair and this pair because they're going to be gifted, and then I want them to look really professional. The same with my socks that I'm going to use as samples for the fair. I also wet blocking them. This color is a sock set from Ginger Snap, and it's called Panda Party. And trust me, this green is much more neon than it shows up on camera. But again, that's a lighting issue, I guess. The pattern for this, it's hard to see because it's a really busy yarn, but the pattern in these socks is the Silken pattern by Rye Flower Knits. And one more pair of socks that I recently finished. These are for my husband. I don't knit enough socks for him because he's got a really long foot, and a foot is the boring part of a pair of socks. So I tend to knit lots of socks for myself because I have a tiny little foot. But these socks are knit in Regia Perfect. I don't know the colorway. They use numbers. And as you can see, if you like me, I normally when I use Perfect, I knit them with short row heels. But this time, because my husband has a high instep, I wanted to use heel flapping gusset. I've never tried that on the Perfect, and as you can see, it's perfect because I had just enough yarn for the heel flapping gusset. So there's a tiny blue stripe on top, and that's it. And as I was saying, I have of course loads of FOs, but I think I'm going to show them as I wear them. I'll be wearing a shawl or a sweater or something in each episode, and sooner or later I'll run out of sweaters and shawls, and we'll see. I'm going to show you my active whips, not my hibernating ones. No reason to do that. The first whip is in a bag from the Tangled Stitch. She's probably my favorite, one of my favorite bag makers. The same with bags. I have a nice bag stash as well, and I'll be showing them as I use them. And what's in here is a shawl I just put on the needles. And if I manage to find out how to do so, I'll put a picture of the shawl on screen. It's a beautiful teal color. It's lace weight, and we bought it in Spring into Wool during Easter. The pattern name is Bluebell. It's Rye Flower Knits again, and you can find it on Ravelry. I have a project page for it, and I'll probably link it in the description box below, as I will do with everything I talk about. My second active whip is in a bag from Jibiroo Suze. She has an Etsy shop, and I follow her on Instagram, and she posted that she got this fabric, and if you wanted a bag in this fabric, contact me. And of course I did, because Hooker Size The Wave is probably my favorite painting, and it's actually not a painting, it's a print, but it's my favorite work of art, probably say that. This is by Cozy Up Knits, and it's the BFF shawl. And the thing about the BFF shawl, as you probably know, BFF stands for Best Friends for Life. And the point with this shawl is that you're supposed to knit it along with your best friend. You split 4 skeins of yarn, however you choose to do it. You buy 4 skeins and split them in half, or you gift half of 2 skeins and get half of 2 different skeins from your friend. But because I'm a yarn dyer, I decided to dye up the yarn myself. And the shawl is knit as a gradient, and I've finished the first color. So I'm waiting for Sue to complete her first color, and then we'll keep going with the second color. I have a tiny bit left of the first color, and that's my antique gold, as you saw in the Nabelli. And I keep going with the color. It's Virginia Tobacco, that's the one I'm using at the moment. And then we go on to 2 darker colors, these 2. So as I was saying, it's a gradient. Try to hold up. One of them is attached to my knitting, and this is the gradient. And I'm really looking forward to finish this, because I think it's going to look beautiful. And the gradient is especially just for me and Sue, and I'm going to keep it that way as an exclusive. So that's the BFF shawl, and I'm knitting on a cardigan, and this was hibernating, but I picked it up again, and I'm knitting. I'm going to find the picture. I have a picture of this thing. Where is it? I have a picture for the Best is for Life. And the Best is for Life shawl looks like this. And this is a picture of the cardigan I'm knitting. It's the East Coast Girl by paper. I have a lot of paper here, and I'm trying to find the picture. There it is. It's the East Coast Girl by Vera Valimaki. It's a black and white print. I'm trying to save some color ink on my printer. And I've just finished. I just joined it for the body, and I'm knitting. It's knit flat, so it's knit purl. I finished the fun part. That's why it's kind of hibernating. But I love this yarn. It doesn't look like much at the moment, but when I block it, it's going to be beautiful. We bought it when we were in England. It's Beehive Yarns in her Audrey base, and the colorway is a Rose Salve. I bought 7 or 8 mini skeins from her in her different tonals, just to be able to see the color. When you buy this much hand-dyed yarn, you want to be sure that you like the color. And so that's I've just picked that one up again. Alternating skeins when you knit back and forth can be a pain. because you have this, you get this edge, but I'm knitting, you're picking up for button bands on this one, so it's not that much of a deal. I'm also knitting a sweater for my eldest son, and this is kind of a fun story because I started knitting a sweater for my husband 3 years ago. My husband is almost 2 meters high and is a big guy, so I had to knit the sweater in 4XL. I never should have started the thing. It was hibernating for 3 years, and I was going through my stash, and I was going through my whips, and I had a frog it or keep it day. And that sweater was, I was finished, almost finished with the body, and I was finished with one sleeve, so I was way over halfway, but I realized I'm never going to finish this. It had a shawl collar as well, and I started thinking that's maybe too much work. So I frogged it, and I started knitting a sweater for my oldest son because he's about my height and slim, so I didn't have to knit. So I'm knitting the flax. I knit a flax before, and it's a really, if you never knit a sweater before, try the flax. I did a small change. I've added short rows to the back because I wanted the back to go up a bit. The color I knitted for my husband was in 3 colors, and I don't have enough of any one color to finish the entire sweater, so I just came up with these stripes. The rest of the sweater will be blue because that was the main color for my husband's sweater, so I have enough of that. So this is sort of an active whip. I'm also doing a scrappy blanket for my eldest son, and that's been going for 3 or 4 years. And from time to time he just says, what about my blanket? And it's getting to be blanket season again, so I should be finishing that one. I think that's it for whips and FOs for this episode. As I was saying, I have loads, but I can't show you my entire stash of FOs because then we'll be doing this for over an hour. So I think I'll be showing a few each episode until I've gone through it. The shawls I will be doing like this. I'll just hang a shawl over the chair behind me and talk about the shawls when as they're being shown up behind me. And the same with my sweaters. I'll try to remember to wear a different sweater for each episode, so you can see them, what they look like on me. I'm not sure who said it. I think it was Tracy of the Grocery Girls that said that she wished more people would put up a picture of themselves wearing the sweater when they put up project pictures on Ravelry, because for us that's a bigger, and sometimes when you see a sweater, oh, but what would it look like on me? So I should put out pictures on my project pages so people can see what I'm a chubby girl, so what does that sweater look like on someone that's not slim? So I should be better. I just a few days ago I discovered that there's actually a timer on my iPhone. I know. It could be that I'm in my 50s. I'm not that technological savvy yet, but I'm trying to be better at it. I'll try to edit this during sometime today and hopefully post it, put it up on YouTube. I'm not sure how long it would take because I've never done this before. So we'll see. What else could I to tell you a bit more about myself? I'm not an exciting person. As I said, I'm an introvert, so I don't get up too much. But I'll be knitting a lot, and hopefully I'll have something finished to show you next weekend rather. What's probably going to happen is that I'm going to cast on another pair of socks. I have 2 pairs of socks on the needles that I can't show you because they're gifts. And I have a sneaky suspicion that the people getting the gifts will check out this podcast. If you want to go along with me in this learning experience, feel free to subscribe. I would really love it if you subscribed. I'm planning a giveaway, actually, for the first 100 subscribers. That could take ages. I'm aware of that. I also want to have knit-alongs from time to time because I love doing participating in knit-alongs. So why not host some? This is a bit scary for me because of my Norwegian accent and because I'm not good at editing and stuff like that, so it's a bit scary, but hopefully I'll get it. I'll manage it. And I may do Vlogmas if I feel brave enough, because I like watching other people's Vlogmases and see a bit about Christmas traditions and what things people get up to before Christmas. And maybe you're interested in seeing what we do in Norway. I'm not the most traditional person when it comes to Christmas, but some things I do exactly like I grew up doing it. So I might do Vlogmas. I'm also going to try to record some northern lights for you this winter. We have northern lights almost every night during winter, but it's not always as powerful and as intense. So one night when it's really, really intense, I'll take my iPhone out and I'll try to record it. We live in a small town, so we don't have a lot of what they call light pollution, so we can see the night sky really clearly. So hopefully I can manage to record some northern lights for you. I might also take the camera with me when we go on road trips around Lofoten and Vesterålen, so you can see more of the beautiful landscape. When it comes to our placement in Norway, Vesterålen and Lofoten, if you go to my Etsy shop, ArcticCrafts by Bente, you can see that I have some colorways with names from the area around us. I have a colorway called Møysalen. That's the mountain I can see out of my kitchen window. And I have a colorway called Tarn, and that's the local beach. It's beautiful. It looks like a Caribbean beach. It's white sands and clear green almost water, so it's really beautiful. So I'm not going to show a lot of yarn. This time I won't show any of my yarn because I have shop updates every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central European time, and I don't have big updates because I'm a small batch dyer. I use my kitchen stove, so I only dye 2 skeins at a time in each colorway, sometimes 2 different bases together, so I have 1 skein on each base. So if you have to go to my shop to see my different bases, and I'll be linking, of course, all this in the description box below if I figure out how to. If you go to Instagram, it's ArcticCrafts, and there's a link tree where you can find my shop and I think my Facebook page. I'm not sure I have my Ravelry profile there, but that's ArcticCrafts 65. And I think I mentioned everything. This is kind of an introduction. So, and hopefully I haven't ranted too much. I have a tendency to babble when I'm nervous, and believe it or not, I'm really nervous. So this is it for this time, I think. I'll see you again next weekend. hopefully. So again, subscribe, please subscribe, because I want to keep on doing this, and if nobody watches it, there's not much point. So I'll see you in a week. Enjoy your knitting, and goodbye.